Hello and welcome back to SKA Awaaz, Voices That Inspire Season 2. When we first started this podcast, the idea was simple: to create a space where our community's stories could be heard, celebrated and remembered. Season 1 took us through 9 powerful conversations across sports, youth leadership, creative journeys and community pioneers. We heard stories of resilience, faith, hard work and quiet courage. Stories that reminded us who we are and where we come from. But in Season 2, we want to go a step further. And in Season 2, we are hoping that we would cross not just about this whole podcast being inspirational, rather about speaking to guests and community fellows on understanding choices, pathways and possibilities. We want our young listeners to know that life does not come with a single route to success, and that challenges can be met with different solutions, perspectives, and forms of strength. So you'll be hearing from community representatives, storytellers, professionals, mentors, sometimes in roundtable settings, sometimes with dual guests, creating richer, more layered conversations and discussions. Conversations that don't just tell you what someone achieved, but how, why, and what they learned along the way. SKA Awaaz, Voices That Inspire, remains a voice of the community, and in this season, we hope to become a space for dialogue, reflection, and growth. And with that, I'm excited to begin Season 2 with today's guest. To open Season 2 of SKA Awaaz, I wanted to begin with someone whose work speaks quietly but powerfully to children, families, and the wider community. My guest today is Sandeep Singh, an author and storyteller known for his books Aman Goes to School and Harleen's Home. Books that explore belonging, emotions, and everyday experiences in ways that resonate deeply with young readers and parents alike. Beyond writing, Sandeep is actively engaged in community seva, from reading his books in gurdwaras and community spaces to offering his time through pro bono interpretation work. His work reminds us that storytelling is not just about inspiration, but about guidance, empathy, and opening up possibilities, especially for young people navigating their own paths. Sandeep, Sat Sri Akal and welcome to SKA Awaaz.
Sat Sri Akal, Harpreet, thank you for having me. I'm very excited and honored to be here. I think before we start, I just want to go back, I think a few years back, I think it was in 2023, when I'd come to your house to provide you a copy of Harleen's Home, and we were sitting down and talking about many, many different things. One of which was your idea to come up with a podcast talking about Sikh issues, community issues. And cut to 3 years later and we're sitting in front of each other in your podcast. So I'm very happy that you manifested that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm amazed you actually remember and also touched that you brought it out. Thank you for that. And I'm super happy for you as well. I was actually looking through our WhatsApp messages on how far we go back and how we met through Amrit. Yes. And how you spoke about how you're working on your books, and you finally did it, and more. So let's delve into that.
Yes. All
right, Sandeep, I want to begin with why you felt the need to write at all. I want to understand the backstory with regards to prompts and inspirations on how this whole journey of coming up with the books, right? People often see the last package of it, the published books, lying in libraries, bookshops, community spaces, but not many of us know the whole process behind it.
Yeah, I think I've always loved writing. In school, English was my favorite language. I loved compositions. I always did well for them. So it came naturally to me, writing. I always did a few short stories. I have a whole archive of short stories in my laptop that never... Maybe one day we'll see the light of day. And I was just thinking of things that I wanted to achieve in my life, and one of it was writing a children's book. One of it was writing a book actually in general. And once I had that main idea, I kind of just worked backwards. Okay, so what kind of book should I write? Okay, let me start with a children's book because that's easier than a 400-page novel. Okay, what should I write about? Okay, being Punjabi, being Sikh, maybe something related to the community. And then after that, okay, what are relevant themes in the community? How about bullying? We've all faced it. I faced it. So it was kind of coming up with this big idea in the front and then working slowly backwards to kind of fine-tuning it to kind of refine the project to then what it started with then the writing and then engaging the illustrator and slowly building upon that.
Interesting. I'm curious, why children's book? Because
it would have been the easiest.
easiest, but don't you think there are a lot of sensitivities involved in coming up with a children's book?
Yeah. I think for me, I knew I would be able to navigate the sensitivities. That was the least of my concerns. For me, it was just coming up with something that I would be able to deliver.
Yeah.
For example, compared to, wanting to be another Bali Kaur Jaswal and writing a novel, that would have taken many, many years. And who knows whether that would have seen the light of day. I knew writing a children's story and something that was close to me and pertinent in the community would be something that I would be able to see through. So I had a very realistic goal of that. And I kind of visualized how I wanted it to be when the entire project came to fruition. The sensitivity part, I think for me, naturally, I'm quite an empathetic and sensitive person. I knew that I already had it in me and I would be able to translate that into the book itself. But for me, I was just thinking more of a project milestone, project completion kind of perspective in terms of what is a doable goal if I was to embark on this.
You spoke about Bali Kaur Jaswal.
Yeah.
We've been trying to chase her, but
I
love her books too.
Amazing.
Were there inspiring people that you looked up to growing up?
Not one particular person per se, but you observe people around you. You see certain traits that you like, you see certain traits that you don't like.
Yeah.
The ones that you don't like, then you just remind yourself, I'm not going to turn out like that. The ones that you like, you kind of remember, you take a snapshot and you put it in your pocket. I think for me, growing up, it really was my mom's extended family in JB. I spent a lot of my formative years there. I still go there very often. And that family culture, I suppose, collectively served as a role model for me in terms of how to enjoy life, how to promote a sense of community. It was a huge house. The gates were always open. Friends, family coming in all throughout the day.
Yeah.
You come in for cha, you stay until dinner. I really loved that, and I think that I really imbibed that. And that really was formative in me turning out to the person that I feel like I've become today. But I think in terms of like an actual role model, I really wouldn't be able to name one.
Yeah.
It is just a collective of people around you that you see in your daily life. And I like that. I like that way the person responded to this question. I like the way the person walks. I like the way the person carries themselves. Then you just pick and choose and you kind of build your own version of that.
I have a similar story like yours on growing up in Malaysia with my cousins, going there every year to Seremban, taking the train.
Amazing.
And you said it rightfully about how that all shapes us, our childhood, our value systems. Let's talk about the books. Were these books a reflection of how you were growing up as well and things that you experienced in life? Let's start with Aman Goes to School. It's about a young boy with a little Judah, set in a kindergarten setting. Tell our listeners about the book.
So it's interesting for those who read Aman, right? It's either you enjoy it because you have gone through it. If you're not particularly gone through it or privy to it, you'll be like, oh, this is your story, is it? You wrote your autobiography. I'm like, no, it's not. Okay. I went through it. Many people went through it. Number one, I never went to kindergarten. I just went straight to primary one. So obviously it's not my story. Yeah, for some strange reason, I didn't go. And that's why primary one was very hard for me on the first day because it was such a huge transition. But no, it's not my story.
Okay.
It's the story of many, many people that we have heard. It's partially, of course, I had a turban growing up and I did get bullied, especially, not really in primary school, surprisingly, but in secondary school when I was 13 and 14. I'd gone to a school that was a bit notorious and we had a lot of gangsters there and they really kind of gave me a very hard time, which I suppose might have been easier to handle because I was 13 to 14 compared to me being a 6 or 7 year old and dealing that in primary one. I wouldn't have had the resources to do so.
Yeah.
In secondary school, I was still a little bit more prepared. So I was lucky in that way. But it's a book that when I was writing it, yes, I based it on my own experiences. But it's also the experience of many people around me. I think when I had written the publication and I'd written the manuscript, I did have this thought, like, is it still going to be relevant? Because many, many, many years have passed since it happened to me as I was a kid now, and now times are different. People are more understanding, people are more modern. Is it going to be relevant? Am I going to put it on and be like, oh, actually, no, this doesn't happen anymore? But as we were talking offline, I think, unfortunately, it did.
Yeah.
From the stories I heard from the parents, during my readings of children coming up and saying, this happened to me, I was like, oh. And it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because on one hand, you're like, okay, my book is relevant. It will resonate. But on the other hand, like, it's not a happy problem. It's not a happy situation to be celebrating. It's a negative story and a negative content that unfortunately is still relevant today. After all these years and years and years, and peers who we grew up with, they are the ones who are now parents and children, and it's still happening. So there's always that bittersweet kind of feeling when I hear.
So how's that whole process getting people within the community involved as well?
Mm-hmm. So I just got my hands down in the tea and wrote the entire story. And then once I was happy with the final edit, that's when I kind of put it out to the community. Not really in terms of the bullying part, but because the story also has kata, in terms of like the story of Kodabil, the story of Char Sahibzade. And there's so much different interpretations of that story online, what happened, what didn't happen. So that for me, I was very wary about and very aware about, and I wanted to make sure that it was presented correctly. So I did reach out to the Sikh Missionary Society at that point of time. I sent them the whole manuscript and I said, this is my story. Please help me check that it's relevant, especially the parts with regards to our Sikh history. I didn't want to misinterpret anything.
That's right.
Thankfully, it went through. There weren't any cuts, if I can remember correctly, or maybe minimal cuts, so just a little bit of edits here and there, but it went through. And that was very important for me to just make sure that I did my due diligence and then didn't just put something out there which will then come back for and have, several issues of contention. This didn't happen or this is inaccurate. Especially, Char Sahibzade in the days.
Yeah.
What happened on which day.
Correct.
So all these, for some person, might be like a minor detail, but when you're putting something out, you've got to be really careful.
That's right. I remember when things were still a little bit uncertain during COVID, you chose to read your stories, especially Aman Goes to Soul, at Gurdwaras and community spaces like SKA. What kind of impact were you hoping these stories would bring within the community and on the children and families at the same time? And also, when you were reading these stories in these spaces, what did you notice about the children?
Firstly, I noticed the small little masks they were wearing. They were so cute because it was COVID, right? We were all masked up. And these 2-3-year-olds are wearing these tiny masks. It was really cute. When I did my readings, it was always to make sure that it connected with the audiences, primarily the children. Some were too young to understand it, and that's why it was a conscious decision to have the book had pictures as well, so that, if you didn't really understand the language, you could still kind of follow the story through the pictures. That was really important for me, and I really just wanted children to be able to connect to it. Not just a small boy who's got a jura.
Correct.
The girls as well. A boy who doesn't have a jura. Even when I started doing, courses and workshops in schools and, outside of the community, it still needed to be relevant, and it was. And many non-Punjabis, non-Indians did come up to me and say, if Aman can do it, I can do it too.
Really?
Yes. I had this Chinese boy, I still remember. He said, I really liked your story. And I said, what did you like about it? And he said, Aman is so strong and he can stand up to Brian. And if Aman can do it, I can do it too to the bullies in school.
Wow.
And everyone's like, how much money did you make from the books? This, that, the other. That is not the real payment. The real payment, the real reward is comments like this, where what you have put out has touched somebody and has helped them. And I've always said that more than being a book, the books are actually resources. Both Aman and Harleen are resources for you to kind of navigate certain challenges that you feel. So for me, it's always been, whenever I'm doing a reading, whenever I'm doing a sharing session, there needs to be that connectivity. And I've always tried to kind of, as much as possible, have people share their experiences, as much as they're comfortable with as well, prior to reading the book, after to reading the book. So they understand that you're not alone in feeling this. There are many, many people who feel it as well. It's not a good feeling, but there is strength in that number, knowing that you're not alone.
You spoke about feelings, you spoke about bullying, about the kids who responded to the books in your readings. What question do you think our community could be avoiding right now? Do you think as a community we could do better to speak about these sensitive topics. Let's just take Aman Goes to School as an example. Sometimes I feel speaking about bullying is very on the surface. It's okay, be strong about it, be a man, be a whatever. Is there something the community can do to help our kids, not just those with turbans, but on a whole? Is there more work that we can do together?
That's a very interesting question and something definitely to ponder on. I think that as a community itself, we already know what the issues are. More than within the community, I think it's important to kind of look out and reach out to the agencies that are dealing with, so for example, the schools, for example, the teachers, to kind of have more dialogue with them and kind of understand, kind of foster this conversation where there needs to be an awareness. Number one, it starts with just basically not all Indians are Tamils.
Yeah.
Not all Indians are North Indians.
Correct.
Just even that basic level already. Sometimes in schools, people still don't understand that there's a difference, that Tamil is not that one Indian language. There are many, many, many other languages as well. I really feel that maybe if we were to look at efforts, that has to be what we want to do, where we kind of push it out to the schools, to the teachers around us, to kind of have more awareness, more understanding. Because once you understand it, if I'm a child and I see this person with a turban and I've never had that kind of exposure in my life, it's going to be strange, isn't it? It's going to be like, oh, that's funny, I've never seen that before.
You can't entirely blame the kid for it.
Yeah. So how do you then navigate that? How do you augment that? That's when, working with that community comes in, exposing them to different ways of living, different stories, different lifestyles. I suppose, I don't really have a concrete plan of how that can be done, but I'm just thinking that instead of looking within our community, we've got to kind of reach out as well and kind of push it out and say like, okay, this is who we are. And forget even being Punjabi, just, even in terms of Muslims, there's so many different Muslims there, the Shia Muslims there, the Sunni Muslims, just the awareness and the understanding, which I feel sometimes is still not there in our schools. Forget the students, even with the teachers.
Yes.
Even forget that when I was working, when I'm working, and I worked in several arts and heritage agencies, and these are arts and heritage agencies, mind you, who should be aware of arts and heritage. Many of my colleagues will come up to me and say, Sandeep, can you help to translate this Tamil text? I say, I'm sorry, I don't speak Tamil. Oh, but you're Indian. And I say, yes, but there are many different types of Indians. And forget even being North Indian. Even if I'm South Indian, I may have dark skin. Doesn't mean I speak Tamil. I can speak Malayali, I can speak Kannada, Telugu. So they don't have that understanding, so that is very important.
Fair enough. After Aman Goes to School, you then immediately began the next journey of your other book, Harleen's Home.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me how you were a little bit nervous about it for some reason with Harleen's Home. I'm assuming, one, it's because of mental health. What conversations did you hope this book would start? I don't want to disclose too much of the content of the book because I hope people will actually pick it up and read it. But still, what was the expectation from this book?
It wasn't supposed to come about. Because Aman was my only book that I'd written my book, I'd crossed it off my bucket list, everyone loves it, great, I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's why Harleen is special, because it came from a very personal place. In my immediate family, there's a lot of there are individuals going through mental health crises, even today. Since the time that I was young until now, it's always been something that I've dealt with. And I remember very vividly, it was probably 2022, late 2022, early 2023, when something happened at home and it really triggered me. And I remember feeling so fed up, so exasperated, so helpless. Like, how long am I going to keep going through this same ridiculous cycle? So I stormed into my room. I was fuming, sat down. Immediately I turned on my laptop and I wrote the first 3 chapters. It just flowed out like magic. And I was like, it seems like I've got a second book coming. So that's how it came about. And that's why as you've mentioned, I felt very nervous, because it came from a very special and deeply personal place. It is a book that if you have gone through it, okay, it is a book, as Nisha from Mental Act said when she read it. It's not a book that has come from fiction. It's not a figment of imagination.
Yep.
It shows that the author has gone through something similar.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yep.
It's not something that I just came up with. She says you can feel that it's a deeply personal book from reading it, and which it is. So that was how it came about. In terms of the response, mental health is such a taboo in
It is.
Indian community, in Punjabi community. No one talks about it.
I think no one talks about it is one thing, but most importantly, it's the coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
On how do we respond to certain situations at home. The 10-year-old character in the book was going through so much at 10 years old. I think a lot of us at 10 and 9 see so many things. But the help, the coping mechanisms, nothing is ever spoken about. What were some of the responses that you got about the book, about people who read the book?
First, I'll talk about the coping mechanisms. Yeah, so it never did. When I was going through it when I was younger, and many of us were going through it when we were younger, we didn't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
We didn't see anything like that on TV or in the books. Right? And that's why I always keep going back to the word resource. Both Aman and Harleen are resources. If I'm getting bullied in school, as a Punjabi boy, I can turn to Aman and say, there's this boy who looks like me. There's a book
Yes.
about my life
Yes.
in that sense, right? And forget just the main part about the bullying. It's about going to the temple during Lori and having tahu sambal and rice. And,
I know.
And, my nanny telling me stories. So there's that relatability. Same thing with Harleen as well. She's going through all this. I'm going through all this. Harleen is going through it too, but she's got a father. And he helps her through. Maybe I have my sister and she helps me through. So I wanted to just make it something that, like, it's a guidebook. It kind of helps you navigate it. It may not solve the problem, but it kind of gives you some respite and reassurance that I feel if I was growing up and I had these two books, they would have helped me a lot. I would have turned to them, right? When I feel... So... Aman and Harleen, I see them, and I keep saying the word resource, but that's what I really see the books as, a guidebook, a manual. If I'm feeling this, these books will help me get through it somehow or the other, because the characters are so like me, right? They are Punjabi like me. There are Punjabi words in the book. The father and daughter do the same things that I do. Yeah. Aman, I've got a grandmother in Aman. I've got a grandmother that tells me stories. I also go to the temple every Sunday. So, all these other... supplementary things that really make it useful. And I feel that if I had these books when I was younger, it would have made it much more easy to get through it, because it's like, okay, I have that little secret manual, let me read and see what she did, and maybe I'll do the same thing as well. So that's always been the intent with Harleen, and I've always tried to pepper it with many very recognizable and very relatable stories and little snippets within the story, right? So for example, school holidays, you've got so much time. Where do you go? Okay, let's go to the zoo. Maybe my friend's going to stay over. Yeah. Maybe my nanny's going to come and visit. Or let's go to a wedding. Okay, what do we look forward to in the wedding? Khana, right? Gulab jamun, jalebis, this, that, the other. So I wanted to also intersperse the story with all of that to make it relatable. Forget mental health. It could be anything else you're dealing with. It could be you're dealing with an alcoholic parent. Yeah. You could be dealing with an abusive parent. You could be dealing with sexual abuse. Mental health is the theme of this story. But it's replaceable with many other themes where the child doesn't understand what's happening around them. The parents could be going through a divorce. Yeah. And I think we underestimate children. Oh, he's only 5 or 6. He's not going to remember. Yeah. I remember I have so many memories of me being a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. I'm sure you do as well. Sometimes even 4 years old. We remember. We see. And I think sometimes that's the mistake that we make as adults, thinking they're not going to remember. They see everything. And they might not understand it in the level that we do, but they are trying to kind of process it. And it does stay in their core memory.
In this book, Harleen's father seems very cooperative. He's aware of what the mother is going through. I wonder whether that's really, really the case in most homes, right? Was his character created differently?
Speaking of that, there's a funny story with Aman, because, people have said, you should write a sequel, So now Aman has gone to school. Then Aman goes to army.
Oh, yes.
Aman's first girlfriend. Aman gets married. Aman gets divorced. He's like, there's so many different pathways to how Aman or whoever.
Yeah.
I think 3 parts to your question. The first part, yes, it was intentional to make the father figure a positive figure because, yes, you're right that our generation of fathers they tried their best, but they were just built different.
Yeah.
You know, they were not very adept with the nurturing part of things, I feel. It's a generalization, but I'm sure many of us can relate. It was more of, let me just go to work and be the provider.
Yeah.
So it was very intentional in that book to then, I didn't want to reinforce that good cop, bad cop, that the mother is always the bachari and the father's always distant. I wanted to kind of play with that narrative and come up with something different where the father is supportive. You know, it may not happen all the time.
Yeah.
Still doesn't happen, I'm not sure. But I really wanted, I didn't just want to play into that stereotype again. That, okay, the father's out drinking at Tekha, the mother's at home. Poor Harleen. I didn't want to do that. Okay. My father, I mean, bless his soul, you know, he I'm sure he tried his best, but he wasn't the most loving either. I remember he would scold me because he had to send me to school. I'm on the back of his scooter, he's scolding me. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Should I just go die? He's like, because of you, I'm going to be late and this and that. I'm just like, oh, you meri galti, I missed the school bus, it's my fault. You know, but yeah, I intentionally wanted that character to be a bit of a whiff of fresh air.
Yeah.
You know, and not just always play that the
Villain.
The aurtein are the bachariyan,
Yeah.
but we got to figure it out because the bande are not going to help us. I didn't want to play with that.
Yeah.
Personally, my view is that when you go through difficult circumstances and challenging childhoods, ultimately the choice is yours whether you want to move into that darkness or you want to move into the light. It really is your choice, no matter how many excuses and, oh, I can't, I'm so traumatized and my parents did this, and yes, they did. But there comes a point of time you really have to take accountability and decide whether I want to move into that light or into the darkness, you know. For me, I chose to move into the light, and for me, I went through these experiences that Aman and Harleen went through, and I choose to use that suffering and pain, and I believe I've created something beautiful with these 2 books. When it would have been very easy for me to just be at home and maybe turn to alcoholism or drug abuse, saying that, you know, it's so difficult, I can't. What do you expect me to do? My parents are like that.
Yeah.
You know? No. There's always a choice.
Yes.
It's not an easy choice, and it takes years and years and years, and you really have to work on it. But you can choose to break out and say, I will do better.
Sandeep, you are deeply involved in the Punjabi culture scene in Singapore. You are a Bhangra dancer with Shere Punjab, and you are also a pro bono Punjabi to English interpreter?
Punjabi, English, English, Punjabi.
Yeah? Okay. I'm actually more interested in the interpretation, but
Yes.
talk to me something about being in Bhangra, right? How has being immersed in Punjabi culture via being, you know, a Bhangra dancer at Shere Punjab shaped your sense of identity?
Yeah, I've always loved performing. You know, when I was young, I've always loved being on stage, dancing. I did in school and everything. Bhangra has brought me so much joy, so much passion, so much meaning, and so much happiness to my life that I feel it has given me more than what I have given the dance form. It's been about 8 years since I've been professionally dancing, and we have done many, many wonderful shows. We've danced for the president, we've danced at several weddings, community events, for VIPs. We recently did the Alap show.
Yep.
More than me putting on, you know, the pagga and the chadra and all of that which comes with the Bhangra dancer, and going on stage and dancing and seeing the joy on the people's faces as they're dancing along with you. It is so gratifying when you are able to give back to the community in a way you are supported in terms of the way you want to give back to the community. What I mean by that is, I could have wanted to be a Bhangra dancer. I may not have been given the opportunity, right? I may not have been good enough. I may not have been, there may not have been any teams who might have wanted me. So, you know, wanting to do something and being given the opportunity to do it are 2 very different things. Sometimes we all want to do something, but do we get the opportunity to do it? You know, and I got the opportunity to do it. You know, I am a dancer and I get to dance, and it's given me so much joy. It is a huge part of my life, and I will be dancing for as long as I can. As I said, it's any kind of performance is a 2-way thing. You feed off the energy of the audience, if the audience is not giving you the energy, you're not going to be able to push yourself through. I mean, I still can because I'm thick-skinned. I'm like, dekhna na dekha, I'm still going to dance.
Yeah.
But generally, it's that energy exchange. And when you get that love and that buzz from the audience, it really invigorates and it's electrifying.
I'm sure it is.
And yeah, the memories and the people I've met and the shows that I've done, it gives me so much gratitude actually that I have a chance to be able to do this. And I take my art form very seriously. I don't take it for granted. I always give my 100% when I'm on stage. I've never taken the easy way out.
Yeah.
There have been days as a dancer, you have just had an argument 5 minutes before going on stage. You still go up and put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
There have been times during rehearsals I'm running out because I've had such a bad day and I'm overwhelmed and I'm close to tears. And I go and I cry in the toilet for 5 minutes. Quickly rub your eyes, go back in and go for rehearsal. These are life skills. It teaches you. It's not just, fun and frolic, put the chadra, put the kanta and go up on stage and dance. No. It really teaches you a lot beyond just the dancing. Confidence, resilience to keep going on when you're tired or when you feel someone's not interested. Confidence to go on a stage and give your best. Being able to compartmentalize your emotions. Who would have thought, right? Bhangra would bring all this, but it does. Or any dance form.
And also the respect that you give to that form of art. By putting everything aside and just
always
giving it your all best.
I've had deaths in the family and the show is the next day and I've gone. And who will understand that? They'll be like, why? Someone just died at home, right?
Yeah.
You don't understand commitment. It is a commitment that I've made. I have to fulfill it. It's very easy for me to back out, but I won't because I've made that commitment and I will do it. And I'll do my show, wipe off all the metaphorical makeup and then do what I have to do after that.
Yeah.
But I feel sometimes people can understand that. They're like, keep a khanda. Yesterday crying, today laughing on stage. No. It's a job that you have to
Loki Kange is an entirely different, probably a 10 series podcast episode.
I mean, no one has said it to me on my face.
Yeah,
but sometimes I feel that is the optics that you're putting out, right? Sometimes if they see it online, they're like, didn't his XYZ just pass away? And he's dancing at Mela, balle and all of that. But I know the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
interesting. Let's talk about your pro bono English Punjabi/Punjabi English interpretation services. Who are these people you are helping?
So, Punjabi interpretation is something I've always had an interest in. It's quite interesting to be able to, because I'm quite good with the language.
Yeah.
But I never sought it out. Somehow it just came to me. Pro Bono SG is a band of, it's a law society that helps to take on cases for lower or middle income groups who are not able to afford a lawyer.
Okay.
So they come in as a volunteer lawyer and they help you fight their case. A part of this clientele is sometimes our Punjabi boys and girls who have been a bit naughty here and they've gotten themselves into some trouble. And of course they've got the lawyer, but they don't have the language skills to kind of converse with the lawyer. So I've started...
When you say Punjabi boys and girls, I'm assuming not us.
Diaspora.
Foreign.
So the foreign boys and girls who may not be very conversant in English.
Yeah.
And this came to me all of a sudden in 2024, early 2024. Someone came and said, do you want to do it? We need somebody. Can you? I'm like, okay, sure. So that was quite funny as well because I'd always kind of, I suppose, subconsciously manifested it. And it came. So I've done about 5 to 6 cases to date. Punjabi boys generally. And you just basically, it is what it is basically. You're just the medium between the lawyer and the Punjabi boy or the client to kind of just provide the language interpretation and kind of help them through
walk me through one case study.
The case study, okay, so I started in March 2024. It was my first one. I said, can you help me with XYZ? I said, sure, I'll come. Tell me. It's a rape case, okay?
No way, Sandeep.
It's a rape case, complicated. There is 3 or 4 accused. There's this, there's that. I was like, what have I gotten myself into? And it was a very steep learning curve in the beginning because the terms and the jargon, it's not something that we're not in
I'm
our
sure
daily...
we are not exposed to it.
In our daily lives, we're not talking about statements and witnesses and appeals and court dates and bail.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we don't talk about these things in our daily... Forget Punjabi, even in English.
Yeah.
and then the next thing is talking about, the sexual act, and how do I translate that, sexual organs, the act, molestation. How do I say that in Punjabi without sounding, crass and vulgar? So I was just like, oh my God, what is this? But it was a very steep learning curve. But I tried to wing it through. I got through. But so slowly. That was a very long case. I think that spanned a year. So it was really, in the beginning, I really fumbled a lot, but then I kind of got the hang of it, of how to say certain things in a way which, again, doesn't sound so formal because it is a conversation with the client. It's not a university lecture.
Yeah.
I can't sound too pedantic. If not, he's going to shut off.
Correct.
So how do you make it colloquial? Yeah. How do you still not make it, how do you not make it sound vulgar or crass?
Correct.
How do you make sure that you are, correctly interpreting what the lawyer is saying? And in Punjabi, the syntax also is so sometimes difficult. Kal is one thing. Is it kal as in yesterday or kal as in kal nu?
Yeah.
All these things which then you have to take that extra layer. It's great fun. I'm not complaining. But in that 1.5 hours that you're there, really you have to be on the ball. There's no time to think or even to have your mind wander because it's really a live, real recording. Okay, the lawyer said this. How do I translate it? Okay, I've translated it. Now, how am I going to say it to the client? Okay, client said this. How do I translate it? Okay, this. And what I do is I always check with the client. Do you understand? Samjhai tonu?
Yeah.
Main dobara samjhawa?
Yeah.
Theek hai? Yes. Always get that confirmation that they are clear and they understand so that tomorrow they can't say, oh, your interpreter didn't tell me this.
Yeah, so I was just coming to that, right? A couple of things here. Firstly, you're sitting across someone who speaks innately excellent Punjabi.
Yeah.
And I think in Singapore, we are educated with Punjabi at a very textbook level. But sitting across someone who, first of all, is a perpetrator, that's one thing in your mind already. Second of all, their Punjabi is 100 times better than ours. How do you, in the midst of this entire conversation, ensure that whatever he is saying, you deliver it as accurately as possible to the lawyer? Yes, we can speak Punjabi. Yes, we understand you're good at Punjabi, but there's this whole responsibility on your head.
Yeah. It's very, as I said, it's very challenging, and it's very intense, intellectually intense. I come out of it with a headache most of the time.
Yeah.
I would like to share this small anecdote. So it was this case, and apparently what he had said the week before was that he was lying on his left hand side of the bed, and the week after he said I was lying on my right hand side. It's a very small detail, but I picked it up and I said, last week tu aagal kahi si ke left hand side hona, right hand side keh raha. So I told the lawyer, and the lawyer clarified, and then the client, he kind of denied it. He said, no, I maintained right all along. And we checked through the records and everything, and it was left, okay? So, and that's when the lawyer said, I trust my interpreter, and I trust that he is interpreting the right thing.
Yeah.
And he did not make a mistake because we have written it down that on this date you said left, and now you're saying right. Oh, sorry, maybe मैं confused हो गया सी या मैंने समझ नहीं आई. And I say, हाँ, but you can't put it on me. Because that's what I do. I do my due diligence. I make sure after every sentence, especially if it's a particular heavy sentence where you're talking about court dates, where you're talking about when your next court date is, how long your bail is, when I make sure I keep asking them again. Tonu samjhai. Do you understand? Do you want me to repeat? I can do it 100 times. But just make sure that you're clear and that there's no room for error. So that is something that I'm very particular about. Yes, and I also I didn't even take Punjabi in school. I took Malay. Malay was my second language.
Wow.
So I've picked it up, by naturalization, by conversing with my family.
Yeah.
But so that's why I always make sure that I'm very clear, and ensure that, the client knows that I'm also not just winging it. And for the lack of a better word, I know what I'm doing. I have earned my place here.
Yep.
I'm not just like sharko to chak ke leke aa gaya koi banda jira Punjabi bolda. I walk the talk and I can speak it.
Yeah.
So that's why I always have that extra due diligence on my side. And you mentioned about the perpetrator. I just wanted to make a quick comment. some people who know what I do, they'll be like, why are you doing this for them?
Yeah.
They are criminals, right?
Yeah.
They're coming here and doing. And I said, yes. But whether they are innocent or guilty, it's not my job. That is the court and the judge will decide. My job is just to make sure that what A is saying to B and B is saying to A the case doesn't get weakened just because they don't have the grasp on the language.
Wow.
They should be able to express themselves. And besides that, innocent, guilty, what you chori kar, kisari ki sharp tu chakli, that one, it's not my problem, it's not my job. But I have many friends who tell me, you're just wasting your time, you're going to Chinatown, you're going to subcourts, 2-3 hours there for what? Ki milda?
Yeah.
And I said, no, it's my job to just make sure, I'm not here to judge them. It's my job to just make sure that I don't lose the case just because I'm not fluent in the language. That's not fair.
You don't get paid for this.
No,
it's
it's voluntary.
all your free time.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought that this is just my way of seva?
Yes, it is. It is because God has given me so much and so many wonderful opportunities, and I have such a great life.
Yeah.
And, things that I wanted to do. I wanted to write a book. I wrote a book. I wrote 2, and they were well received.
Yeah.
I wanted to dance. Okay, I got punk. And that's what I'm saying about opportunity. I got the opportunities to do the things that I wanted to. I'm sure people want to write a book, right?
Yep.
Not everyone gets the chance to do it.
Of course.
So I have that deep gratitude for that, and I'm saying that if God has given me so much, this is the least that I can do to now just give back and make sure that if I've got the skill set to help somebody, I will.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sandeep, I would like to end off my set of questions by asking you, if a young listener takes away just one idea from this conversation, what possibility would you want them to believe in? Or just simply put, what would be your message to them?
That you are not a victim of your circumstances and you can rise above anything. I have been through a lot in my life as well. A lot that people don't even know and probably won't even be able to fathom. But when they see me, the first impression, he's always laughing and joking and everything. He must have had an easy life. I did not have an easy life. I went through the darkness. I navigated, and I created something beautiful for myself. And you can too. No matter what happens, it's really tough, it's really scary, it's really dark. But you can choose not to be a victim. You can be put in traumatizing situations. You don't have to be traumatized. You can still make that differentiation, that I'll still fight. Things will get better one day, and they will get better one day. Because there is an overarching divine power that is guiding you. You have to believe that. There is a light somewhere which is helping you, which is guiding you, and will put you on the correct path.
That sounded very encouraging, very inspiring. This whole purpose of the podcast is to document all these inspiring stories. I hope one day, if they ever need resources, like you very rightfully put it, they will get to hear people from their community and feel that sense of, I'm not going to give up either. Yeah. I'm going to push through this. What kind of challenges they would have to face, right? Yeah. So these voices are so important to the youth of the community. So thank you for that message.
It's oral history.
Yes.
It never dies. It's always going to be there perpetually.
Yeah.
Let me choose who I'm inspired by, and let me hear their story. Whether it's mine, I was listening to KP Sandhu's story. Very interesting.
Did you find it interesting? I had a very good, very interesting conversation with him.
Aneet Kaur as well.
Aneet as well.
You just choose who. It's like a game, right? There's all this. There's a carousel of people who don't want to learn, and then you learn from them and you listen and okay, they did it. I also can do it. We all started from the same. Generally from the same starting point. Maybe a little bit further, a little bit forward. But the path is out for you to create.
Nicely wrapped up. Thank you so much. Not just for the books. I want to reiterate this. The books are amazing. All right. You have contributed unknowingly, knowingly. These books were needed. I hope you do something more than this as well. Thank you for the honesty. Thank you for the creativity and the heart you put into everything that you do, because it's very, very obvious. Your journey is such a powerful reminder that storytelling and culture can shape identity in the most meaningful ways. And to our listeners, if you haven't read Aman Goes to School or Harleen's Home, do check them out on Amazon. or you can call the SKA office and we'll help you get copies. Sandeep, would you want to give a call for action if anyone's looking for the books?
Yeah, you can find them in the libraries as well. You don't have to buy them. Just read them. They're in the library. They're there for free. They're waiting. Bring them home. Read the books.
Amazing. They're wonderful conversation starters for families, I believe. Thank you again for listening in. I hope you enjoyed the very first episode of SKA Awaaz, Voices That Inspire Season 2. Do stay tuned for the next episode. Please listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you.